Yes. There's what's known as keeping it in the family. Uh-huh. McDonald franchise has been a part of the Nicole Enruse family for much of her life. Uh-huh. Her mother, Patricia Williams, became an owner-operator in 1986. By 2002, she owned 12 restaurants in California. After working as a social worker for nearly a decade, Enro left her job and went to work for her mom. She took part in McDonald's Next Generation and Spousal Training Program, which trains children of franchisees on how to get into the business so they can either open their own or inherit their parents' locations. Now, Enru, yes, offers these nuggets of wisdom. And there's a picture of her and her mom. Yes, Patricia's 72 years old, McDonald's in Compton, California. Ooch. Now, as a father of a family, let's say that McDonald's wants to sell some products. Yes, in Compton, California. I had a situation when I was living on Guam. I was living in a shipping container. Yes, and the devil was really giving me a problem. Well, I went online. Yes, looking for some reverends, some pastors, some individuals that were really very spiritual. Yes, to help me pray. Well, I went to Harlem and I went to Compton because I understand that those two locations have had some significant influences on the African American community, those black individuals that live in Compton and Harlem. Yes. Now, there was a Bishop Sims, yes, that I emailed. I said, well, could you pray for me? Somebody had taken my sons, yes, and then they tried to convince me that being on one another was better, yes, than just having normal relationships with each other. Well, when I went to Compton, I went through the various churches using, Google Maps and just a search engine. Yes. And I looked for those individuals that are in the darkest places of the nation that understand about spiritual warfare. Now, let's say I went to Compton today. Yes. And I looked at each and every church in Compton. Yes. That says that they believe in Jesus. Now, I have had the experience that the more darkness there is, the greater the light. Yes, it's kind of like a spiritual training. Yes, it is. Where if you're living in Harlem, yeah, and predominantly most of the citizens there are black citizens. Yes, the actual individuals that do the preaching in the Christian congregation, their type of intercession is different than in Washington State, that is predominantly Caucasian. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Now, I've been to some churches that I would say are my favorite kind of church. Yes. They're high praise Pentecostal churches that when all of a sudden the Holy Ghost breaks loose, pooch, everybody's dancing and really praising the Lord. They're praising the Lord. Now, I'm having a little problem today. Yes. Getting law enforcement to enforce my civil rights. Are any of those that live in Compton familiar with the civil rights of American citizens? Or those that live in Harlem, are they familiar with civil rights? Yes. See, it seems that in Washington state, when you're white, yes, male, oops, heterosexual, and Pentecostal Christian, yes, that they feel no compulsion to have to enforce your rights as a citizen of this nation. Now, let's say I lived in Compton. I'm walking down the street. Right. I'm going to a church.